This is the Good Regardless podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Ariano. Welcome back, my beautiful, lovely people. We are on episode 10. 10, you guys, of Good Regardless. I don't know why that makes me so excited. It's the double digits, like we're climbing up there. Episode 10, I'm so excited and I'm so grateful that you guys have tuned in to today's episode. This is going to be a really fun, jam-packed week for me, you guys, because you're listening to this on Wednesday. My birthday, okay, my birthday is on Friday and I'm so excited. I am a big birthday person, y'all. Like, when it comes to the birthdays, since I could remember, I've always been super into them. Like, I was the type of kid that had their parents buy the cupcakes and the Capri Suns and have them at like the school and bring them for the whole class. Like, that was me as a child. And I don't know if people do this anymore, but I hope that kids still get to experience that, because that was one of my favorite things. Like, as a child, okay, we're gonna go get the cupcakes, we're gonna get 2 dozen, I'm gonna bring them for the classroom, I'm gonna have my Capri Suns, and it's gonna be a party about me. Like, I loved it. And this has definitely continued as I've grown up. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like birthdays are something that should be celebrated. It's literally your day that you were born and brought into this world. And it is such a miraculous thing that, we get life. And when we hit that next milestone of like, okay, I'm a year older, it just feels so good. But I know that there are times, though, I'm sure this isn't just happening to me, that we get like the birthday blues. It's weird because I love my birthday, but then there'll be like an hour or two where I'm just like, it just feels awkward or weird. I don't know if I'm making sense, but y'all know what I'm talking about. It's the birthday blues. But yeah, it was always a thing for me. And I love to celebrate people's birthdays too. And, with the food and the drinks and everything, like, up until now, I've always planned my birthday. I'm a planner, so I need to know what's going on, what are we doing? Like, I do the planning, right? So I've done the Vegas trips, I've done the big birthday parties. I think 2 years, you guys, I threw myself a birthday party and I had to cut out like toppers for the drinks with my face on them, you guys. Like, that is how serious I take it, y'all. Like, I had a bartender, a freaking mechanical bull. I had a DJ. Like, this was for a 27th birthday, or I think it was 26. It wasn't even like, a big year. I was just like, I kind of want to go all out. And it was so much fun. I had so much fun at that birthday and I had a lot of fun planning it. What else? I've also loved to plan Richard's birthdays. I'm telling y'all, like, this Friday, it's my day. I'm excited. But it's definitely going to look a little different than what it usually looks like, because I am kind of switching it up this year. This year, instead of doing, the big dinners and, the trip or, the birthday parties, I'm going to spend it super intentional, super just low key with my family. And I was actually having a conversation with Richard about this, because he is always there for my birthdays. This is going to be like I think maybe our 8th birthday that we spend together. I feel like when I turned 21, that was when he actually met my family, but obviously, like, I have known him before then. But anywho, we're always just, he knows, like, he had to figure it out. I'm like, oh, she take her birthday seriously, so I need to come correct. Yes, you do, boo. You need to come correct. But this year I was telling him, I'm like, I've never really spent a birthday with just my family. Like, I'm always out. I'm always going somewhere. I'm always with friends. I'm always, partying. Like, I've never spent a birthday since I could remember, since I was like an adult, with my family. Like, I want to spend it with my family. So we are going out to Joshua Tree this weekend and we're going to just spend time together, hiking, making dinner. We're going to play games. Like, it's going to be super wholesome. Me, Rich, my mom, my dad, my brother's coming. We're taking the dog Zeus. Like, it's going to be a whole shebang bang. And I am so excited. I don't know what's up with me and that word shebang bang lately. I feel like I've been using that a lot, but I'm really excited to just be away from LA, because it's wild out here, and get away and just make some memories with my family. Because I like I said, don't really go with them for birthdays. Like we'll spend a dinner together, but like I usually do like a bigger separate thing with like friends, and it's wonderful. It really is that I've had those memories too. But just this year, I'm super excited. Like I have gone to Joshua Tree once and I loved it so much. It's definitely a slow pace type trip. Like if you guys have never gone to Joshua Tree, it's nothing but the desert, nothing but stars, nothing but quietness. Quiet. When you live in LA and when your mind's going a million miles per second, especially here in the Valley, especially here in LA, so fast paced, going to a place like Joshua Tree is like a breath of fresh air. It's like like this is nice. Like, there's not that many people around. Everyone's super friendly, and it's actually kind of funny because Palm Springs is super close, and had brought it up to my parents. I was like, I want you guys to come. Like, I don't want it to just, be me and Rich. Actually, let's plan a family trip. And they're like, all right. And then they're over here talking about like, oh yeah, like the casino and like this and like that. I'm like, casino? I was like, there's no casino in Joshua Tree. Like, I don't know what you guys think we're going to go do. Like, it's literally stars, y'all, and desert and cactuses. Y'all better bring your boots, your hiking boots, and a book or something. Like we'll play games. It'll be fun. But yeah, they're like, okay, we'll have restaurants. I'm like, no, there's no like restaurants. There's only one cafe restaurant, but it's not really a place where you're going to go out and like explore and drink, like to bars and stuff. It's more of like a place where you're going to get a really nice Airbnb. You're going to chill in the Airbnb. You're going to spend quality time. You're going to go hiking. There's a bunch of cool hiking trails and you're just going to chill. So we're going to do that this Friday. I'm so excited. Okay, let me get these questions. Okay, ask less. First question is, do you still listen to secular music or only gospel? Okay, I love that question. Girl, I still listen to both. I'm going to be super real with you guys. I listen to all kinds of music. I listen to EDM. I listen to rap. I listen to everything really besides country. And I will say though that I do have a really good worship playlist now that I absolutely love. And I find myself listening to that more and more often, if that makes sense. Like if I go on my walk with my dog, like every single time I'm listening to mostly my worship playlist. And it's cool because I actually found like a bunch of really cool Christian rappers, because obviously like when you listen to worship music, it's like, like very like, you would think that that's kind of all it is. And I love those songs too. There's a lot of amazing songs. And just like when you do listen to it, it just feeds you in a different way because your mind is just like, oh, positivity, it's goodness. It's really makes me feel good. So I do find myself more and more often. Like if I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I'm gonna listen to. That's the first thing I'm gonna put into my brain is some worship music. I'm very like cautious about that. I also, again, like when I'm walking, me and Richard like to listen to worship music too sometimes now together. Actually, he has a lot of favorite songs. But I'm going to actually give you guys some people that I added on, because, sometimes you want to listen to like some hype music. Like you want to listen to some music that's, bum, bum. At least for me, that's the case. And I found like these really good Christian artists. This guy named Mission. I love his song called Like it is my jam right now. Y'all wouldn't even be able to know that this isn't like regular music. It sounds like regular rap in terms of the beat, but the message is so beautiful. It's been my jam lately, you guys. My new favorite song. It's called by Mission. And he's like rapping, pretty much talking about, Jesus is a Messiah. He's saying like how we're diamonds and how we go through pressure and how we come out shining. Like it is a vibe. What else? I also love this one called Old Ways by Jay Manuel. I'll share this with you guys. Spin by Chris Elijah. You can actually go on iTunes. I listen to my music on iTunes and Spotify, but I use iTunes a lot. And I just put Christian rap, and it's good. But I do listen to regular music. I listen to Drake. I listen to Bad Bunny. I listen to, whatever my mom's playing when she's cleaning. My thing with that is I feel like I am very aware of, okay, am I being transformed by this music? Am I allowing this to like really seep into me and like change me? Not really. So that's why I personally don't find it an issue. Obviously, everybody to each their own, whatever you decide to do. I feel like if I know where my heart's at, I know where my mind's at, I'm straight. I know, at the end of the day, like where like my heart's going, then I'm not really, I don't really feel bad about that. I have to be super honest with you guys. I know there's a lot of people here that, I'm sure you guys that are super Christian listen to secular music as well, or like vice versa. Maybe you don't. And I think it's just everybody has their own, I would say their own convictions, the things that they feel comfortable with and what they don't feel comfortable with. And I feel like that is very distinct for each individual. So yeah, like I think that it's nice that you have different people that, will give you different opinions. There's some people that I know that they probably don't, but your girl is well-rounded. Okay. So the next question is, what has been the biggest fight between you and your man? Girl. The biggest fight between me and Rich. Let's see, there's been so many big plots. Just kidding. I really have to think about this, y'all, because there's been a lot of fights. I'm not going to lie. But I will say that the reason why I don't think I can recall like our biggest fight is because all of our fights were stupid, to be honest. Like they were all not something that like, it was just, we were just not fighting for something that was actually a big deal. Like it was always like a misunderstanding or my feelings were getting hurt. It was just always more on that end. So it wasn't like a big thing where it's like we had different morals or different opinions on something and it caused us to like fight super crazy. We've always, we fight, all couples fight, but it's never been like really big fights because of, major differences. Obviously, like, that's why I feel like I can't really recall like our biggest fights. Sure, we've had big blowouts before. Like I think back then, one of the things that I was notorious for, you guys, and this is definitely growth, y'all. I used to do the thing where if we were fighting, and if you're a lady out there, if you're a woman hearing this podcast, please do not do this. Don't do what I used to do. So what I used to do is when we used to get into arguments, I used to break up with him. Like, I used to be like, well, maybe we're not meant to be together. Maybe you should leave my house. Like, maybe, like, oh my God, just hearing that just gives me like the ick of myself, to be honest. Like, I just get the ick of myself because that's not cool. Like, you shouldn't be throwing out the breakup word if you guys have a fight, okay? Like, that should be the last thing that you guys throw out there. If that's really what you want, okay. But I found that I was just saying it because I was speaking out of anger or, I was just not knowing how to communicate my feelings. And I was just like, you know what, maybe we should just break up, knowing damn well that I did not want to break up with him, knowing well that like, that's actually not what I wanted. I was over here just playing these little games. And that was, again, back then, like I definitely learned from those experiences because it got to a point where Richard was like, you need to stop saying that. You need to stop saying that because one, that's like really hurtful. Like, I can't even imagine if he were to have done that to me. Like this man, y'all, like, in the arguments, I feel like we're so yin and yang, like we balance out each other so well. I think he's so able to just really understand like my emotions back then when I was like super, going through a lot, when I was an angry individual. Like he knew how to deal with that. And, never once has he been like, well, I'm gonna break up with you, and I was just like, even thinking about that, I'm like, that's so true. Like, when I thought of that, I was really just like, if he were to ever say that to me, I would be devastated. My heart would be crushed if he ever just was like, well, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be together. Maybe we should break up. If he told that to me, oh my gosh, I would be so sad. And, it did get to a point where, he had to tell me like, you can't say those things because it hurts. And when he told me that, I was like, okay, like, I hear you. And, it's been something that I don't think I've said that since, y'all. Like he really was like, I know that it's a natural response for maybe individuals who don't know how to communicate. That's how I was for such a long time, and that I just was so hurt or like whatever. Like, and I took things, way too personal, and like maybe we had a little fight and I blew it out of proportion. Like he's always been very level-headed. Not to say that he's, perfect. Okay. We all have our mistakes. Like he definitely is very stubborn. But yeah, like just the whole throwing out the breakup word definitely was an issue in our relationship. So if you do that to your significant other, I would try my best to really just sit with yourself and, put yourself in the other person's shoes and then, ask yourself if that's something that you would like to be received, and don't say stuff that you don't mean. If you genuinely don't want to break up with the person, but you're just saying this because maybe you think that that's what they want, or maybe, you just don't know what else to say and you're just like, well, fine, let's just break up. Like that's not going to solve the issue. You need to have a conversation with that individual, and like you throwing out the breakup word isn't going to help the relationship get better. If you're always tangling, oh, let's break up every single fight, it's never going to be better. It's always going to have that person thinking, wow, this girl's just going to leave me if, we fight. And when Richard told me that, it's like, I don't want to think that like, down the line we get married, or down the line, we've been together for so many years that you're just going to casually throw out that, oh, we're going to get a divorce, or, oh, we're going to break up. And when he told me that, I'm like, yeah, like I don't want to even be putting that out there into the universe, because there is power in the tongue. There is for sure power in the tongue. And when you say certain things, that is powerful. So be careful with the things that you say and be careful with your words. Okay. So your stance on the LGBTQ community and how you believe God sees them, sin or no? Oh, that's a deep question, girl. All right. Let me think about this the best way. How can I say this? Honestly, what comes to mind and what comes to my heart is the fact that I know for a fact that God loves every single one of his children. Every single one of his children God loves. And that is my opinion on that. Like, I don't see anybody, regardless of their sex, their race, their beliefs on religion, whatever the case may be, I don't see anyone less than, and I feel that my God, the one that I, the idea of who he is in my head is a loving father, and he loves all his children equally. That is how I see it. And, some of the best people that I know are part of the LGBTQ community. Like I have real people in my life that are amazing. And I think of more of, to be honest, people's conditions of their hearts. I look at more of a person for who they are, their heart, their mind. How loving are they? Are they actually good people? I care more about that. I'm so much more concerned about who people are, how their hearts look like. Are you loving to other people? Are you, spreading positivity? Do you practice what you preach? Are you forgiving? Are you, a person that has light in them? Those are the things that I focus more on. And obviously I know that can be maybe not everyone's reality. Maybe people have different opinions on that, and I respect everyone's opinion. But like even, having conversations with friends about the Bible, like there's so many things that the Bible says. Like I was having a conversation actually, with Angela, and it was talking about like how she had pointed out like that there was this, basically this passage in the Old Testament about how like we're not supposed to eat like shrimp or lobsters and all that stuff. And I understand like people may feel how they want to feel about certain things, but at the end of the day, I'm more concerned about who you're becoming, about who I'm becoming, than all these little details. Like, and I think that that's something that my pastors are always reiterating. It's like you could read the Bible every single day. You can go to service every single Sunday, and you can be in God's word, but if your heart's not being transformed, then you're missing out. And that to me is, what I've chosen to really focus on is the condition of my heart. And yeah, so I hope that answers your question. And let's get into today's topic. Since your girl is turning the whopping 28 on Friday. You guys, I can't even believe that I am literally at the final stage, the final phase of my 20s. Like, what? That's crazy. That's so crazy. Time flies. There was a metaphor that I heard once that living life, it's like water running through your hands. That's how fast time goes. Water running through your hands. That's the ages, the years. It just comes through your hand and it's like, dang, that's so true. Like, I can't believe I'm gonna be 28. Like, what? I'm about to be 30? I can't even believe that. That's insane. That's insane. And I know everyone has the same thoughts as I do. Yeah, like, for real. When did this happen? Because I was just turning 21. But the roaring 20s, I feel like the 20s are such an amazing decade. It's an amazing decade. It's an amazing span because we grow up and we evolve and we become so many different people. And I love and continue to love my 20s. Like, I feel like I've learned so much. And when I think about my 20s, there's so many things that come to mind. I think of me being a mess. I think of me, getting into issues. I think of me, maybe not having it all figured out. And then I think of me now, and then it's just so much to unpack, when it comes to the 20s. And I know that we, for such a long time, maybe felt like, okay, the 20s is like, you got to have it all figured out until you become 30, right? But you got to figure it out before you become 30. And it's like, when you grow in your 20s, when you become older, you know that, like, that is a flat out lie. You do not have to have it all figured out before 30. You don't. Would it be nice to? Yeah. But the reality of life is just not always how we plan it out to be. So I wanted to give you guys the 5 things that I've learned in my 20s, because your girl has gone through so much. Like, I think of, in this decade, left my house for the first time, was in college, found a relationship, was going out every weekend, trying to find myself, like, came back home, found an amazing job working in radio, lost a job. Like, so much has occurred. And now that I'm towards the end of my 20s, like, I finally feel like, okay, like, I've seen every phase of my life for what they are. Like, I've appreciated every moment. And I just feel truly, as I've grown older in my 20s, as I'm about to go into 30s, I feel good. Like, I feel like I'm finally less worried about what people think. I'm less worried about, just these superficial things. And I'm happy getting older. And I don't think I was able to ever say that before, because I think, as especially women, we have such a hard time with the idea of growing older. We have such a hard time with the idea of becoming 30. And this is ingrained in us since, I don't even know, since we're young. Like, since we're young, it's always like, oh my gosh, you're gonna get old. Like, oh my gosh, you're gonna look old. And it was something that I struggled with. I had that ideology of like, oh my God, like, I don't want to be 30. Like, all these things come to mind, but it's like, bro, every single year is a blessing. And now I know that with every year that comes, I become smarter. Like, I genuinely become more intelligent. I become filled with wisdom. And what that allows me to do is, not only am I able to live life better because I have my own understandings, I'm not easily influenced, I'm not worried about X, Y, and Z, but I'm also able to take the lessons that I've learned in my 20s from the mistakes that I've made and pass them on to the next generation and to the next group of women. And I think that's what growing older is all about. It's not bad. Like, it's so great that we get wisdom as we grow older, because we go through things. Like, even this week, I was talking to this man, the food pantry, and he's probably like 70 years old. He's like retired, and just sitting with him, I was eating a donut and I was like having a cup of coffee. And to be honest, I think I was kind of, having a little hard morning. I mean, I don't really tend to have those that often. And I knew going to the food pantry was going to help fix whatever was going on in my mind. I sat there, I was eating my donut because I was like, you know what? Like, I need a donut today. Like, it's one of those days that I just need a donut. And I was sitting there, and I see this man all the time. I say hi to him, passing whatever, but I actually had a genuine conversation with this man. And he's just explaining to me, his life, and just, he's older now, so he has so much wisdom. He was telling me that he's retired and that he's realize that the things that he valued before don't mean anything now, and that his ideologies for life have just changed, and that when we're younger, we want all these things, but to be honest, like as you grow older, you want a family, you want, to do things that are actually meaningful. And just hearing him speak to me, and I was just listening to him, and I was just like, oh my God, like he was just saying so many great things. And I was like, this man is so wise, and there's a reason why we go to our elders. Like, I'm always constantly going to my dad. If I need advice, I'm always going to him because he knows, he knows what to say because of his life experiences. So I am happy that I'm getting older, and not only am I getting older, but I'm getting wiser. And I truly believe that that comes from knowing who you are in Christ. I truly believe that that knowledge comes from God, because I think back then, like, when you turn a certain age and it doesn't feel any different, like when I was turning 24, 25, like that day of, I didn't feel any older. I was just like, okay, like, yeah, I'm still telling people I'm 23 or 24 when, I had already turned a new age, right? But now I feel that I'm growing older, like spiritually and mentally. Like I feel more wise. And the reason I know this is because, even having conversations with my dad, we have a lot, more similarities, and we are actually able to conversate about different things that we weren't able to before because my mind wasn't mature enough yet. Now, as I'm growing older, I'm becoming more mature, and we have, really stimulating conversations about life, about, faith, about hardships. We have conversations of, how to handle things. And I feel like I get him a little bit more now, and we can have these conversations. So I love that. I'm happy that, I get another year of life. Like I'm so blessed to be able to be here at 28, that God has given me another year, even with the obstacles. Like I'm so grateful that he has chosen me to like come into his kingdom. Like I feel so honored, and I just feel so grateful that I know who I am in Christ. Like truly, it's the most amazing feeling. Like it really is. And I'm excited for 28. I'm really excited for this year. Like I've told you guys in the past episodes, I feel like this year is going to be a really good one. When I look back at my early 20s, it was a blur. Okay. Like it was a big blur. I was always going out. I was just like, in my party girl phase, and that was cool back then. That was that era. And, I'm trying to think of like the best year that I've had. I think every year was like very like chaotic, and I finally feel like a sense of calmness. And yeah, I'm excited about 28. I'm super ready for this birthday, and I'm excited to just be able to celebrate with my family. But yeah, so we're going to get into the 5 things my 20s have taught me. Number 1 is that you can plan all you want, but expect the unexpected. Raise your hand if you always thought that you were going to be married and have kids at 27. LOL. Y'all expect the unexpected. When you're a young teenager, you just don't know, honestly. You just don't know. But yeah, like expect the unexpected, you guys. I'm telling you, when you're in your 20s, I think that we're so focused on a certain plan. I want to be married before 30. I want to have a house at 30. I want to do this. I want to do that by 30. And it's like, if you try to if you plan out your life to the T, most likely y'all are going to get disappointed, because there's so many times that we want things to go a certain way, and that's just not what the plan is for you. Like your plan is your plan, and it's great to be motivated. It's great to have plans. It's great to, know what you want in life. But I think there's something really beautiful about being able to be flexible with life, to be able to allow the curveballs that life throws at you, for you to be able to handle that. I think, back then, like I look at my life and how I always wanted to plan certain things out, but the way life is you can't predict everything. You don't know what's going to happen. You really need to know how to go with the flow in certain situations and know when it's okay to go off course. I even think of something like going to Cal State Fullerton. That was not in my plan, you guys. Like my plan was to go to San Francisco. I was going to go to the Bay. I was going to go to college out there. ain't nobody was trying to go to Fullerton. Okay. Like I wasn't trying to go to Cal State Fullerton. And, I just can't even imagine how different my life would look right now if I didn't make that choice, if I didn't get off course and plan different. You again, like we anticipate relationships being here forever. We anticipate a certain career path for ourselves, and really learning how to be flexible, I feel like allows us to grow in certain ways because we trust in the fact that God really has your life in his hands, and he knows where you're supposed to go. He knows who you're supposed to end up with. He knows what friends you're supposed to have in your life. I saw the most beautiful, beautiful passage that said, God is never early. God is never late. God's always on time. And I love that. Like, I love just understanding that, sometimes we may want certain things that haven't happened yet. Maybe we want a relationship that hasn't happened yet. And we are sitting here in this, pile of emotions and feelings, and we don't know what to do with it. And I think that we can get in a very negative mindset when we start trying to plan out every single moment of our lives. Like, there's just things that we can't understand or can't see. And it truly is about having trust and faith in God, because he will put you exactly where you need to be. He's never going to be late because he knows when you need something. He's never going to be early because he's not going to give you something that you're not ready for. He's always going to be on time. And just thinking that and just knowing that has truly brought me so much peace. And, that is one of the things that my 20s have taught me. It's like, you can plan all you want, baby sis. Like, go ahead and try, I think that it's super common. I've heard, like, even back then, it was always like, oh, I'm going to have kids and I'm going to be married at 27. That's not happening for me. Like, things change, and also our wants change. Like, some of us, maybe we want kids later in life. Maybe we want them more early. Like, there's always just circumstances and life curveballs that will be thrown your way. So I think, as I've been in my 20s, I know that, like, I have to learn how to let go a little bit, let go of the reins a little bit, and just trust in God. Like, I have to let go of, wanting things to go my way, my plan, and to really just expect the unexpected. Like, as we get older, things will come our way that we just didn't anticipate. But, that is part of life. Like, you can't expect everything to happen your way. You can't expect everything to happen on your time. So that's for sure my first truth, one of the key things that my 20s have taught me. Like, I look at my life and just thinking, like, schooling, even relationship. Like, I wanted a boyfriend before I even had Richard. Like, there are certain things that I wanted, and maybe certain things that didn't really go my way, friendships, maybe, projects, maybe what else? Like, a career paths. Like, I've gone a certain way that I was like, okay, maybe this is the right choice. And it wasn't what I expected. It went the wrong way. And that's okay, because that curveball has developed me into this individual now. Like, I truly feel that we become stronger because of the things that are unexpected, because of, putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations. We become stronger. So for sure, welcome those unexpected moments, expect the unexpected. Like, in your 20s, you don't have to have every single thing planned out. Okay, so the second thing that my 20s have taught me is that people's opinions of you aren't your reality. And y'all, this was such a game changer for me, because I feel that when we are younger, we're constantly like looking for approval. We care about what everybody thinks and da 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 da. As you grow older in your 20s, you care less and less about other people's opinions of you. You start to understand that that's cool that you think that. I know who I am. I know who I am in Christ. I know what God says about me. Like, you could think whatever you want. I'm cool. And I think it's definitely liberating to feel that way, to feel that, I don't really necessarily care about what someone may be saying about me. Like, I feel like back then maybe I would have gotten hung up if someone said something mean to me or if someone offended me or da 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 da. And it's just like, it's just too much. And it really wasn't until recently that I learned to just not allow other people's opinions to affect me. And you know who gave me that bar? You know who gave me people's opinions of you aren't your reality? My father. My father gave me that bar. We were having a conversation in the kitchen because that's where we have our big talks. That's where, something's going on. I need to come to dad, sit in the kitchen after dinner, and we're just sitting down. He's feeding me with knowledge, and I'm just there listening. And when he told me that, I was like, writing it down in my notes. People's opinions of me aren't my reality. Like, it was literally like that. And, I think even thinking about back then, like there was one moment, y'all, when there was like a TikTok of mine that got super poppin', and y'all, people were being so nasty and mean to me. And even like before that, I've had people kind of say mean things or whatever, and it would get to me, you guys. Like, I would be sad. I was like, I can't, like, I would feel the need to like, engage and like defend myself. I would feel the need to like, stand up for myself or try to get them to think differently of me. And I was just like doing too much. And then I realized it's like, I don't have anything to prove to you. Like, if you don't like me, that's fine. Like, once I realized that, oh my gosh, I was like, I feel as light as a feather. Like, I feel as light as a feather. And I think so much time we focus so much on what like other people are saying about us, when in reality, like, that should be the least of your concerns. Like, truly, when someone is going out of their way to say something mean or nasty or whatever, like, why would I care about what that person is saying? Like, clearly they're going through whatever they're going through. I think about it even in my sense, like, I could never imagine being in a place like emotionally, like mentally, spiritually, where I'm going out and spreading like nastiness or negativity to people. And when I think about the person who does that, I'm like, oh, like, I can't take what you're saying to heart. Like, I can't take what this individual is saying about me to heart, because like, they're going through it, or I don't know, like, it doesn't make sense. If it was coming from like someone of like, if my father was telling me this, or it was like someone that was like, I looked up to, I would be like, oh, okay, like maybe I would get it that your feelings would be hurt, or like, you might take it a little personal. But usually it's people who like, you don't even really like, there are people that are not even in your circle. Sometimes it could be for you, like maybe it's a person that you hang out with and they're constantly telling you things. Maybe it could be a significant other. And it's like, bro, when you realize that people's opinions of you have nothing to do with you and have everything to do with themselves, you start to just not care so much. And you just like kind of just take everything with a grain of salt. I think that back then I would have been devastated if someone said something about me that was out of character. I would have felt the need to defend myself. If someone says something about me back then, I would have been like, that's not right. Like, oh my gosh. And it wasn't until recently that, I learned that I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to prove myself. And I think that back then, like, maybe I was doing that because I was a little insecure in who I am, maybe I was insecure in myself as an individual. So I felt the need to defend myself, or I felt the need to, respond or whatever. But now I'm very secure in myself. I'm very secure in who God says I am. I'm very secure in that I'm, God's daughter. Like, I'm secure. Like, I know who I am. I know who my friends know who I am. My family knows who I am. And that's enough for me. Like, I'm secure in that. So I don't feel the need to just, even allow those opinions into my mind. Like, I don't even allow them into my heart because I know that they're not true. I'd come across a really nice video. It wasn't a nice video. It was a smart video of a man pretty much saying that people who are constantly like coming for people, and I'm sure we all have people in our lives. Every single person deals with people's opinions. Every single person has someone in their circle, in their life, that's constantly trying to come to them and like, belittle them or just spread negativity. It could be a close person. It could be someone that you just work with. We all have them, right? And this person was, a pastor was actually saying like, that when people are criticizing you, if people are going out of their way to criticize you, it's a coping mechanism that person does for themselves to basically allow them to not think about themselves and focus more on you and your problems instead of really being like, oh, wait, actually, maybe there's something in me that I need to work on and fix. Notice that, people who are constantly criticizing others, who are being mean, who are like being hateful, they're not really like doing well. And I don't mean just well financially. I mean well like emotionally. Like you don't see people that are super at peace, that are like, I'm good, like I'm happy. Like you don't see those people bashing others or starting drama or like fighting with people. You don't see that because they're just don't have room for it in their heart. So when you learn that people's opinions of you aren't your reality, it allows you the opportunity to move through life a lot easier. It truly is easier, but it does take, going through that. Like I'm not gonna, wake up one day and to just decide not to get offended anymore, to not take people's opinions of me, to heart. I had to go through those things where it's like, all right, well, what are you going to do in this moment, Leslie? Are you going to allow these lies to seep into your head? No, you know better than that. So just if you are presented with that opportunity and maybe you've come across someone and you're allowing their opinions of you to really get you down, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Know who you are. Know who you are in Christ. When you know who you are in Christ, when you know who you are, in God's eyes, who your friends say you are, like the people who matter, then those outside noises, it doesn't affect you. So yes, basically, number 2, don't give people power. Don't give other people power over you. The third thing that my 20s have taught me is that creating boundaries doesn't make you a bad person. I love me some boundaries, okay? I am all about the boundaries. And I feel that, in my early 20s, as I was trying to find my way in Orange County, in a new school for the first time in university, I feel that we compromise, or I felt like for sure I was compromising my boundaries to fit in. And I think that this is very natural for us as we, enter into our 20s. Sometimes we find ourselves trying to compromise the things that we want to do because we want to make other people feel good and we want to, show up for this person or whatever the case may be. Oh, like I can't skip out on going out to the bar, or like, oh, I can't X, Y, and Z because this person's going to get mad, and we're constantly compromising, our boundaries to fit other people. And it's like part of creating boundaries is knowing, okay, this is where I lie. Now my boundaries are crystal clear, y'all. Like I know where the line's at. And if you can't respect that, then we maybe aren't going to be the best suited for a relationship. And I think it's super important to know what your boundaries are because it allows you to flow through life easier when you know what you're comfortable with doing, what you're comfortable with not doing. And to be honest, you guys, it feels really nice to create boundaries for yourself and have the people around you respect them. Like it feels nice to know that, okay, like, I'm not going to be going out with you all the time. Like I'm not going to be, compromising, spending time with my boyfriend or spending time with whatever, like to fit your box. And I feel like, especially as women, we're constantly being pushed to compromise our boundaries to please other people, whether that be relationships, whether that be friends, whether that be coworkers, family members. We're constantly being pushed to compromise our boundaries to make other people happy. And other people's happiness isn't our responsibility. We know what our responsibilities are, and that is when we create those boundaries. We know, okay, this is what's going to help me operate at my best level. This is what's going to make me happy. So as I've grown older, I just have realized what my boundaries are, and it's nice. It's really nice to know that those are crystal clear for me. Okay, so the fourth thing that my 20s have taught me is that you are going to evolve, and some people won't like it. And I feel that, people like to put us in certain categories. Maybe you're an individual who like to, see someone this certain way. But the truth is our 20s are the decade of change. We're constantly changing. I think of my 20s, you guys, there's so many different eras of me. There was the messy era. There was the rave girl era. There was the fighting era. There was the freaking sober era. There was the faith era. There was the freaking business girl era. There's so many eras that that's so funny, the word eras too, because I feel like it's definitely a girl. I feel our females love to use that, the era, you know? And it's true. In our 20s, you evolve in so many different ways. You're going to see yourself in so many different lights. And that is the beauty of your 20s, that you can change, you can evolve, you can make mistakes, you can be better, you can make mistakes again. Like, your 20s are really a trial and error, like, in order to figure out who you are. And that becomes so much more clear as you grow older. Like, your 20s are not supposed to be the most figured out thing. Like, they can be a little messy. They can be a little, not so pretty, because, this is the second decade of our life. Like, obviously it's not going to look that pretty. We're going to change a lot. If you aren't changing and evolving, then you are not living life correctly. If you're not becoming better in certain ways and evolving, then you are missing the beauty of what we get here on earth, is to grow up, is to grow older, is to grow wiser, is to evolve. And you will become so many different versions of yourself. And sometimes when you become different versions of yourself, that means shedding away certain people that may not fit this new person that you are. Like, as we become different, sometimes that means losing people around us. As we evolve, sometimes that means losing, just different parts of who we were in order to become stronger, become better. And I think that is a natural part of our 20s. Like, there's so many phases of my 20s that I went through that I was just like, okay, like, that was a phase, this was a phase. And as I've grown, there's people that have come, there's people that have gone, there's people that have come, there's people that have gone. It's just been like a whole thing, like, I have friends that I didn't talk to, reconcile. Like, it's just so many different versions of ourselves. And I think that as we try to figure out who we are, things fall together so other things can fall apart. And that's just how it goes. Like, that is literally how life goes. People and situations fall apart, and sometimes they fall back together even better. And I think that as I've grown in my 20s, I've realized that, like, it's not always going to be the same. Like, it's going to always be changing. Like, even myself, like, I think about just all the different persons that I have been. I think of all the different, ways that I have changed, and in my, evolution of becoming what I feel is my best version of myself as I've grown older. Like, I truly feel like I can walk confident in who I am. Like, there's things of myself that, I had to remove, like, even just certain habits or practices or whatever. So it's not even necessarily just like, oh, other people won't like it. As you evolve yourself, you're going to have to look around and see what's not fitting my life anymore, what's not allowing me to grow into the next phase. And I feel that, your 20s is really great for that, because as you grow older, you realize, okay, this isn't serving me so much anymore. Probably not going to do that often. Maybe I'm going to chill. Maybe I'm going to spend more time doing this. Maybe I'm going to spend more time, doing the things that feed my soul. And it's just part of, again, growing up. Like, your 20s are the messy years, but they're also the years that you find the pieces and you figure it all out. One of the last things that I've learned in my 20s is that every season must come to an end, regardless of whether we want it to or not. Every single season comes to an end. And some of you guys may hear that and be sad about that, but truly, when something ends, that really means the beginning of something else. And now when certain situations or whatever comes to an end, I don't freak out and think it's the end of the world. Like, I look at it, it's like, wow, like, I'm happy that this season occurred. Now I'm moving on to the next season. And I think that we look at life so linear, like it's so like here and there, right? Like we look at it so linear, but the truth is there's so many different seasons of life. There's times when you're going to be up, there's times that you're going to be down, there's times that you're going to be up again, and then there's times that you're going to be down again. Like it is really a roller coaster of up, down, up, down, up, down. But I feel that that is the beauty of life. Like imagine if life was linear and it was always going like this and it was always perfect. Like no, like it's a perfect balance that we get with life. We get this perfect balance of ups and downs, highs and lows, of sadness, of a lot of happiness. Like we get to experience both worlds, you know? And I think that there's a beautiful balance about it, about life, that, you know, there are those really great times and there are those really low times, and there's time for seasons to start and there's time for seasons to end. And I think that, you know, in my 20s, I didn't really think about it in that way. My early 20s. Now, as I'm close to, you know, end of the 20s, like I'm in the last years of my 20s, I see that the ending of something is actually really beautiful because that means something else gets to start. And I love, you know, fresh starts. I love that. Like, you know, I love the fact that we get that. And I truly see that in order to experience the really high moments in life, you have to know what the really low moments are too. And I think about, you know, my certain situations and the things that I've gone through. And I truly feel that, you know, my early 20s were so amazing. My mid 20s is so amazing. And I truly, if I could be honest with you guys, I feel like they were as good as they could have been. You know, I feel like they were as good as I could have been. And, you know, but I knew that I was missing that low season. Like I knew that I was missing that low season because I know that the strongest people are born in the lowest seasons. I knew that I was missing the low season, that hard period of my life because everything was just, you know, obviously things occur and not everything is perfect every single day, but I'm talking about those moments in life that you're like, oh, I'm in this storm. I'm here. Like, and I knew that I was missing that. And I'm happy that I'm here because it's brought me closer to my faith and it's brought me closer to understanding who I am. And I am grateful for the low season. I'm grateful for, you know, experiencing the highs and the lows. The lows are just as important as the highs, you guys. I think that for a lot of us, maybe we are going through that tough season of our life. You know, maybe you're out there, you're having relationship issues. Maybe, you know, you feel a little lost. Maybe, you know, you feel like you're searching for your purpose. There's so many of us that have so many different things that we're going through in our lives where we feel like we're in the low season. But I'm telling you guys, the greatest people come out of those low seasons. The low seasons, they aren't going to define you, but they shape you. And I think that, you know, when I was in my early 20s, I didn't want to go through hardships. I didn't want it to be hard. I wanted it to be easy. And as I grew, I was like, wait, like I can't reach the level. I can't test myself to the highest limits. And I can't be the person that I imagine if I don't go through hardships. I knew that they were coming and they here. Like, you know, like I knew that, you know, I was going to have to experience a season like this. But again, every season must come to an end. And with the end of a season really is a rebirth. It's a rebirth of life. It's a new you. It's a new version of you. So if you are in that low season, know that you are going to come out on the other side stronger. You're going to come out on the other side so resilient from that moment that you're in, that season of, you know, hardships. You are going to come out of that. That's undeniable. The things that we go through, they don't have the capacity to break us. You know, like you can't break who I am. You can't break my spirit. You can bruise me up a little bit, but I'm going to come out good on the other side. You know, I'm going to be reborn. And when I think about just like the hardships now, like obviously it doesn't make it easier. It's easier said than done. Yeah, like I welcome the hardships, but just I hope that you know that if you are in a season of hardships and you are in a season that feels really difficult, that you aren't alone. You aren't alone, and that there is always purpose behind the suffering. I think that, we want to say, oh, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And what I've learned is not everything happens for a reason. It's not really the best to say that, because there are certain things that people go through in life that are so hard, whoever's listening to this, that there's some things that you've gone through that it wasn't for a reason. God wasn't doing that to you because he wanted to hurt you or punish you. But what I do know is that God will take every single thing that was supposed to break you and turn it into something full of purpose. That is what I know for a fact. So we're here, you guys, and we ain't going nowhere. I'm so happy that I get to reach another year of life, that God has blessed me with this year. This year was challenging. It was incredible. It was transformative. And I'm just so excited to turn 28 on Friday. I'm excited. And I just can never get tired of telling you guys enough how much I love you and how much I appreciate you and how much your encouragement and your support means to me. Like, y'all, I've been doing this, for not even just a podcast, but this has just been like always something that, I don't want to get emotional. I told myself this episode, it wasn't going to be it. I mean, I almost made it through the episode without crying. So the reason I was getting emotional is because I was telling you guys, like, this is what I've always wanted. Like, I've always loved to talk on the microphone and to share my, feelings and just to let it out. Like, I've always just connected with being able to express the things that I'm saying, and like in hopes and in prayer that like it will help anyone else out there. Like, this has literally been my dream forever, like forever, even before the podcast has started. Like, you guys who have seen the journey, like it's always been this, it's always led me back to this, to the podcast, to just speaking and just, to let it all out, to help other people, to, express the things that are in my heart in hopes that it'll help anyone else out there. And I'm just happy that I'm here. And like, I really am grateful for you guys. And I'm thankful for your support. Like, I tell you guys all the time, I screenshot every single nice thing you guys say to me. It's in a special folder. And I just am thankful for you guys, really. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry, like, if I'm always crying and it's so much for you, but I truly love you so much. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Please remember to like and share and rate the podcast. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.